I think the shoes overall, everything seems to be doing really good. You know, like the designs of the shoes, the marketing of them. These kind of trips that we've been doing seem to be effective or something. You know, like I think England seems to be stoked on what we're doing. Everybody shows us a lot of love here, and everybody's really supportive of what we're doing. So, you know, why not be here? It's a bit of balancing sometimes, and I used to have a really hard time with it, but I stopped drinking about 11 months ago, and the way I would drink would leave me incapacitated for a few days after that. So without that, I get to do, you know, more of what I like to do. I have a big hand in running Baker Boys distribution, so I do that part-time. I skate pretty much more than I think I ever have now. I don't know, me and Andrew Reynolds live right next door to each other, so we go just skate around our neighborhood a lot. And then I think I spend more time with my family than I ever have. So yeah, it's a lot of balancing, but yeah, it definitely, like, I think if you slowly get new things phased into your life, you just adapt to them naturally. So you'll naturally be able to spend the right amount of time with each one of them. Yeah, I mean, I definitely mellowed out when my son was born. That was 8 years ago, but not enough, you know? Like, I mellowed out on my, like, heavy partying, you know? But still, I continued to drink and kind of managed to just make my way through life. My daughter was born a few years after that. But it just, you know, it took a drastic situation for me to be able to, you know, to put all the shit together in my life. You know, later on in life, you're supposed to kind of be going down, and I feel like I'm kind of getting better as the years go on, just because I'm paying more attention to it. They're kind of polar opposites, Alaska and Arizona. It was weird. I was born and raised in Anchorage, Alaska. We skated during the winter in garages, and then in the summer was kind of like this. I mean, this actually here in Bristol, or maybe England altogether, kind of reminds me a little bit about, you know, where I grew up, because in the summertime there's a lot of green, and the city, Anchorage, is about probably the size of Bristol, you know, maybe a little bit bigger. My father passed away and we moved to Arizona. It's totally opposite. Got to skate all year round. In fact, in the summer when I was about 14, I would still skate in the summer, but it's kind of the opposite. In the summer, it's not as easy to skate. You know what I mean? It's so hot. Whereas, you know, in the winter in Arizona, it's really nice. I was 18 when I moved to San Diego. I graduated high school. And yeah, that was it. Sort of like migrated up north, you know, like went from San Diego to Huntington Beach, where like Tom and Jeff and those guys, you know, were. Because they made a big like stamp on Huntington Beach was like the place. Tom, Jeff, Ed Templeton, you know, Huntington Park was like the epicenter of skating at the time, it seemed like. So we kind of moved there. That was when I met Andrew and Jim and Brian Sumner and Alex Mole and like the whole crew. And we all kind of lived really close to each other. And then we kind of all ended up, you know, liking to hang out and skate together, so we kind of moved up to Los Angeles and Hollywood and stuff, and that's where we are now. Well, I actually met, Jamie came out to Arizona on a trip with Panama Dan and Satva and a few other guys, Muska and some other guys, and he started hooking me and my friend Scotty Kopelman up with boards. So then when we moved from Phoenix or Tempe to San Diego, I got on Zero when it started. You know, the early memories of getting on Zero was really cool, because it was all sort of new to me, you know, like filming a video part and how like a skateboard company kind of worked, and turning pro for Zero was a really big one for me. Just kind of learning a little bit, you know, about the ways of that world, you know. Forming Baker was really cool, you know, meeting up with everybody and us, you know, like that bond, forming Baker and doing something kind of on our own. That was a really rad experience. Just a lot of fun times. Moving into Hollywood, that era of like kind of being pro for 5 or so years or something like that, and then you know, helping be a part of founding Supra, you know, that was a really big deal for me. And then me and Jim started Deathwish and Baker Boys distribution. You know, me, Jim, and Andrew did that. That was, you know, it was like the whole, like, as far as like moments through those companies, those just turning pro, getting a shoe, starting my own company, starting a distribution, you know, like those, as far as the companies go, those were really key, like big things for me. So when we started it, you know, I had rode for Crew for about, I think it was around for maybe 4 years at the time. And Angel Cabada had the idea to do a footwear company, and he'd kind of been kicking the idea around for a year or 2 years or something. And he wanted to start something, and I mean, at the time, you know, I had a good selling shoe in America. I was like, you know, Baker 3 was about to come out, and I think, you know, like I was ready to have more involvement in that side of things. So, you know, like they offered me some ownership in the company. And there was a big risk, but I trusted what Angel and Scott Bailey and those guys had going as far as the infrastructure of crew and the way that they could sell an item or the way that they could market something. So we took like a big chance on that, but it was a calculated risk. I've never really been in there on a day-to-day basis, you know, like where I'm, you know, in the beginning, me and Angel were like, you know, for the first like year, we were emailing it fucking all hours of the day, 2, 3 in the morning, just going back and forth, working on shoes and the whole first line and stuff. But then once we had hired some designers and like gotten all that going, I just, you know, my involvement now is I go in once or twice a month, I work on my shoes, I give some inputs on some of the, you know, team stuff, and they pretty much got it handled. So that to me is like, I'm almost like just a team rider, which is fine by me. My uncles are carpenters. My uncles build a lot. They like built the whole town they live in Washington, pretty much. I don't know, I just naturally got into it. I think I always like tinkering with shit and be kind of hands-on with a lot of stuff. And then right before my son was born, I just like downloaded some plans to build a baby crib, and I sort of just built that. But that was kind of where it all started. I got a table saw and things, and I'm not like very good at it, you know, but I put a lot of effort into it, and I like to build these like things out of old wood and stuff like that. Like I built a tree fort. I pretty much built a house in my backyard. It's full of house with electricity and drywall, wainscoting, wood floors, and balcony rails and everything. I like to just mess around, build things. I think it takes your energy into something else where you can kind of be passionate about something besides just skating or making a shoe or designing a board graphic or anything in your like normal circle of things that you always do. And if you step outside of that, I think that it gives you more creativity when you step back into the other things. Likewise with, you know, vice versa. If you're doing that, it gives you ideas for other projects that you're into. I don't think I was coordinated enough to play a guitar or something like that, but people, you know, play guitar and then go skate and then paint a picture or something. You know, I think that all of them kind of work off of each other. They influence the other thing to make you more like passionate about, or you just more like hyped on doing something. For me, it's build. And then when I get back into skating, I'm like so much more amped to go skate again, you know? It's weird. Well, I'm on this part for 2 weeks, so I'm up until London, and then I leave from London. And then after that, I'm not sure. We may have a Baker Deathwish like summer tour planned in the United States. I don't know. I gotta maybe work on that. I don't know where our next super trip's going. I haven't found out. This is Erik Ellington, and you're watching Route One Supra Sundays.